Good afternoon. How are you? Happy Veterans Day. Thank you for those of you who served, and every family member serves as well, and those who support it in the various ways they do. It's an important day. The temperature, according to Thomas Jefferson, is 42. Humidity is 47, and the wind, which you can feel, is 8.6 miles an hour. It's not as bad as it was yesterday, but I will do my best to be articulate. Thinking about politicians today and how they can look in a mirror reminds me of my youth in the Bronx. My grandfather, who was Charles Joseph Flannery, he loved to watch the Talking Heads on Sunday. And when I was young, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, something like that, he would take me in the other room when we went to his house, had Danish and orange juice, and we'd watch the Talking Heads. And over time, my grandfather and I, when we had these sessions, we'd shout at the TV, ask this question, ask that question, how could you say that? And one time when this was happening, my dad came by and he said to my grandfather, he says, Pop, why do you listen to those guys? They just lie. They don't tell the truth. And my grandfather got into it with my dad. And then he stopped, and I think he felt guilty that he had an argument with my father in my presence. And he said, well, you know, maybe your dad is right. My grandmother, she enjoyed wrestling, and she believed it was real. And I, most of my life, I believed politics was real. Believed Aristotle was right, said it was the most important profession. And it is because of how we interact with each other, how we get things done. And there's politics, big P and small p, and we've witnessed it at its worst and its best in recent days. It's best as we get closer to the people and people in positions who honestly express their view to make a difference, to change things for the better. When I was a youngster in New York, and I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I was torn between science and politics. And when I turned to politics and thought of what I would do, I was upset about corruption. And at that time, when I was a young man in New York, there was a fair amount of it. I'm sure there is still. We've seen a mayor who was almost convicted, and he was prosecuted, and he was forgiven by a felon, President Trump. So what do we have? For some politicians, clarity and principle are inconsistent, and thus we, the people, suffer. They can't do it any other way. Well, the question when you go into government is, do you appreciate that you're taking on a role that is you as an agent for others to help make a difference? Safety, security, but also marvelous challenges to move a nation forward by which they come together to make a difference. So, the question some might ask is keeping the government closed, shut down, when to let it simply open, and there's nothing simple about it, without change, is to hurt those who will lose health insurance. This is the current crisis. And the statisticians tell us many will die in peacetime, as if shot through the heart. And isn't that ironic that among those who will be hurt will be vets? My uncle came back from World War II with wounds from the camp where he was when he was captured in Italy. My dad often spoke about how thin he was, like other prisoners, imprisoned for different reasons, and many, 6 million, just because they were Jewish. Trump knows, instinctively though, his heart and head and conscience don't exist to prefer to help, but to hurt. And so he knows that it's time for some hogwash, to rush over what they wish to kill, the Affordable Care Act. Affordable Care Act. The name itself is the reason for the fight. Affordable. Because if we do nothing, it's not affordable. It's beyond the reach of many people. Trump offers something vague, and repeatedly he's done this. A program they will never in fact offer and say, here's a program. It's just something out there, like a misdirection of a magician, but this magician is a con man par excellence. He's not here to entertain, he's here to hurt. He's here to destroy. And it doesn't seem that he has a limitation on the targets some days. He says, let's send cash to the patients directly. When is the last time he looked at what health costs? And the arrangement, an array of groups and pools of people by which the person whose number is up with a difficult health situation is covered by the fact that there are others contributing in premiums to that group, these policy holders, so that the cost of some large and catastrophic in some cases is offset by the money in the group that's contributed. The cost of living has increased under Trump, no matter what he says. His tariffs, his bullshit economics. It shows that the guy was basically most of his life some kind of thief and misdirected individual living on debt. And this is not a time to live on debt. We can't live on debt. Increasing inflation we have. Jobs are lost. People are thrown out of the government and not paid. Recession is mentioned. Trump, the master of the intervening, ever-present con. How does a man, woman, anybody, live a whole life without saying, I did that? Can he say that as he hurts, as he steals more money than he could ever use in a whole lifetime? This is how he measures who he is, by how much he has and how corruptly he got it. It seems that's also an indicia of his success in his mind. Since 2010, Trump has produced no alternative to our healthcare system that might work. Nothing terrific, as he repeatedly promises. Nothing so bigly, a word that makes no sense, that even a child wouldn't use because it's not amusing enough. It sounds clumsy, like everything else about him. The decision to reopen without addressing healthcare was and is primitive, heartless, shameful. They will pay for their haughty disregard of the community with their jobs, ultimately, I hope, their reputation, and any legacy they thought might buffer what little they've done in public life, and how the most significant thing they did may have been to contribute, if we don't come back from this precipice, to the death of those many people who can't afford insurance. Other nation states provide for the care of the people. Who are the rich going to, I'm sorry, between which and rich? The cold. It is a sobering effect. As the leaves fall, as the morals drop through the floor, are there any Democrats who will fight back? Are there no Republicans that care for the sick and the hungry? Well, I'll tell you this. We have done well in every arena but the Congress, one of the three branches of government. How is that? We're electing people that aren't worth their time or their money, the retirement funds, the perks they get, the inside deals they make. So, if my dad were here, he would say it's taken me a long time to get smart enough to know these politicians are no good. But look at the governors. They've worked hard. They've been in the courtroom. So look at the people. Look at the ACLU. Look at the people at rallies. Look at the elections that we just had. We the people are alive and fighting. We're going to beat these bastards at their own game, and hopefully we'll have time to visit them in prison somewhere. So, the cold may have given me a little extra energy today. Sort of a sweet and sour series of comments, I guess, but justified. People are saying things worse than I am, and I think they're all well-earned sobriquets of their deception, their hate, and their failure as public servants. Excuse me. Their servants appear to me to be hidden. Probably those with the most wealth. In any case, glad you could visit on our Cathedral of Trees on this beautiful day. Happy Veterans Day. Bye-bye.